Debbie Crawford is the Assistant Superintendent at Hawkins Independent School District in East Texas for the past 9 years. Prior to that, she was the Executive Coordinator for SuperNet Consortium of University of Texas Health Science Center at Tyler, where she assisted in establishing and maintaining a technology consortium of 18 members and a virtual school. She earned her Educational Administration Doctorate at Texas A&M at Commerce, and she's been a partner with CETL at the South Central Regional Technology and Education Consortium. And prior to that, she was an award-winning classroom teacher and has had experience teaching grades 1 through 12. Thank you, Debbie, for being with us today.
Good afternoon. I'm Debbie Crawford, Assistant Superintendent at Hawkins ISD. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to network with these two talented women and with all of you this afternoon. We're going to take just a minute to look at a quick video first. Jackie, that's your cue. And I'm going to let my strike force introduce you to my town and district.
One red light. One eat-in restaurant. One grocery store.
One post office.
One funeral home. One coffee shop. One clinic. One fire station.
One flower shop.
One lake. One memorial.
One ballpark. One railroad track.
One assisted living. One fast food restaurant. One motel.
One city park. One school district.
One way of teaching. That's what we are here to change.
That was my strike force's first attempt at sharing Hawkins with others. You'll learn more about this group later in the presentation. Hawkins ISD extends 98 square miles and encompasses 2 large lake communities. Our major employers in the area are Ozarka Water, Exxon, and Niject, both oil-related companies, though none of these businesses are large employers of local people. Most of you probably know about Title I, but you may not know about Texas phenomenon called Chapter 41, or more lovingly referred to as Robin Hood. In Texas, if your district has a tax base that collects more than a capped amount of taxes per student, you must send the difference back to the state. Since Hawkins, as you can see from our industries, has a large portion of our tax base in minerals, we send over $1 million back to the state each year. We are considered a wealthy district, though our students themselves are not wealthy. Judith spoke in her presentation about geographic isolation, and Hawkins fits into this category. The nearest city of any size to Hawkins is Tyler, which is approximately 25 miles away. This distance is insurmountable for families with unreliable transportation. Dallas is 90 miles away. Hawkins serves Head Start through 12th grade. Last fall's demographics showed 769 students with 5% Hispanic, 11% Black, 79% white, and 4% 2 or more races. 10% of our students are served by special education services, and 67% of Hawkins students qualified for free and reduced lunch, making us, as is Seminole, a school-wide Title I district, with all 3 of our campuses having school-wide designation. I was asked what I saw as Hawkins' key challenge in helping our students reach new levels, and I would say that it has to be vision. Families tend to have a narrow vision of life outside of Hawkins. Many of our students have never traveled to a city larger than Tyler. Most students and their families are unaware of career opportunities beyond those jobs that they have witnessed either in town or ones held by their families and friends. As Dr. Meese said, if they've heard an interesting job that they might want to pursue, they often are not familiar with the pathways to getting to those careers. Some parents are threatened by the prospect of their students leaving our area to go to college because they're afraid that their children may not choose to return. The school has the challenge to broaden our students' vision and challenge them to reach beyond the familiar. There is a sort of everyone knows everyone familiarity that sometimes allows students a pass rather than pushing them to do things that are uncomfortable. We have to prepare students for college and a life outside of Hawkins where everything may not be easy. They may not get a pass because they are the mayor's daughter or the football hero's son. We have to give them the confidence to stand on their own. In the past, we've not had a lot of trouble getting our students admitted to college. Rather, we have had trouble keeping them in college until they complete their degrees. There are lots of familiar faces and close relationships between teachers and students in a small district like Hawkins. When they enter college, that is no longer the case. Students often find themselves lost and not adept at advocating for themselves or finding and utilizing available resources. Dr. Meese discussed this in her findings as well. Hawkins has had a few projects that we've utilized to try to help expand our students' vision. In 2011, Hawkins had the opportunity to send a couple of science teachers to training with the GLOBE project. Through this project, students in middle and high school use scientific protocols to gather data which is submitted to databases utilized by practicing scientists. Their measurements must be precise and timely. One of our teachers really took to the project. Because of her efforts, a group of our students and the teacher were invited by the American Embassy to travel to India and attend a science fair there. This trip was shared throughout our school. Let's take a look at our Facebook page. It'll come up here in just a second. There we go. We utilized social media to send pictures back while the students were there. As you can see, while the students traveled, they posted their trip for others in our school and community to share with them. They exchanged scientific ideas, but also cultural ideas. As they visited schools and taught Indian students about baseball, and Indian students taught them about traditional dance and recycling paper. They realized there was a larger world out there, but it wasn't so very different from their own, at heart anyway. Thank you, Jackie. Our high school hallway announced the trip, complete with a map and a copy of the scientific poster that the students were presenting. And the students and teacher used Skype to visit with middle and elementary school students while they were traveling. This past summer, the students were invited to NASA's Science Fair in Washington, D.C. to share their experiences from India with participants. There they met a delegation of Nigerian students. Our students are still in collaboration with both the Indian and Nigerian students on the scientific protocols and have now formed a GLOBE club. Another step we took in Hawkins to improve opportunities for our students was to establish a group of teacher leaders to tackle the problem of the disconnect between what we were teaching our students and what they desired to learn, what was relevant to them. One thing that I've discovered in my 10 years in Hawkins is that regardless of how long I have been here, I am still, since I am not at least second generation Hawkins, I'm still an outsider, and I always will be. Initiatives brought by the faculty, especially those who are Hawkins natives, will be much more powerful than anything proposed by me. We appointed a group who took on the name the Strike Force. You saw their beginning video at the beginning of this presentation. The first thing that they did as a group was to define what skills they wanted our Hawkins students to possess when they graduated. They developed their ideal graduate and discovered, once complete, that almost everything on the list addressed more of what we call soft skills than it did true academic skills. It was determined that these soft skills, how to get along in the world outside of Hawkins, were at least as critical to student success as the academic skills. And then we set about figuring out how did we get there from where we were. The Strike Force joined up in the fall of 2012 with several other districts in the area to bring in the Powerful Learning Practice Connected Learning year-long training. The process led us through an action research project to find the answer to our question. We visited other districts in the Dallas area, one being a new tech high school. The Strike Force took our board president along on the trip. After spending the afternoon at Coppell New Tech, the board president got back on our bus and said to me, "I thought we were providing an unequaled education for our kids, but we aren't. Our kids can't compete with these kids." And this was the beginning of our Curriculum and Technology Initiative. The committee determined that unless we changed our instructional approach to something that would compel students to participate more fully, we could not accomplish our goal. PBL, or project-based learning, was the instructional method that they determined we needed to challenge our students to take responsibility for their own learning. They further decided that if our students did not become more familiar with technology in a productive and ethical manner, in time that would cripple them. So the direction was set and a plan was devised. The Strike Force determined that the first step was to ensure that the focus was on instruction and not on technology. However, they also felt that if teachers did not themselves become more tech-savvy and utilize it in instruction, the whole project would be lost. The Strike Force decided that their ultimate dream would be for one-to-one laptop computers in 4th through 12th grade and iPads in K through 3. They approached the board and asked them to provide the equipment that the Strike Force eventually desired to the teachers then, so that the instructors would feel a bit ahead of their students. They provided clear support for their request, and the board said yes, and devices were ordered. They utilized 3 in-service days during the remainder of the year to train teachers in PBL and embedded the technology within it. This is something that we learned years ago from work with CETL. The Strike Force members were the ones that decided that every teacher would be responsible to complete 2 BBLs during the 2013-14 school year. Simultaneously to this work, the district decided to call a bond to fix roof and roads. Not a real interesting bond. The Strike Force saw this as an opportunity to get those dreamed about devices. They asked to meet with the Citizens Committee that was designing the bond package. Long story short, a slightly reduced plan for devices was integrated into the bond package. The Strike Force then went about the task of convincing the community that students really needed those devices. Our bond passage history in Hawkins has not been great over the last 30 years. 2 superintendents before the current one had tried and failed to pass bonds. The current superintendent passed a bond approximately 7 years previously that included a new gym and cafeteria, and it passed by only 14 votes. This time, the bond passed with 70% of the voters supporting it. Community support is one of those things that Judith mentioned as being an advantage to small towns, and it is. Another program that we utilize to help our students reach beyond our district is participation in the SuperNet Virtual School, which provides online high school courses. This was founded by a collaborative that Hawkins is a part of and provides over 20 online courses. It gives us flexibility to overcome staffing and scheduling conflicts and also to offer credit recovery or acceleration. The district, like Seminole, offers dual credit courses with Tyler Junior College. Our students can leave us with over 20 college hours. The district pays for half of the cost of these courses and provides the books. The district will also pay for one ACT or SAT test per student. This year we started a plan to begin students with ACT series of tests much earlier in high school and to pre-test and receive feedback to address weaknesses. Our curriculum and technology initiatives are just starting, and the jury is still out about their success. There are many things that could cause concern and frighten people into not giving it a chance to play all the way out. Probably the largest obstacle to change in a small district is this. It generally takes at least 3 years before new initiatives are fully implemented and you can begin to see positive results. The first year or two often produce a slight downturn. In small schools and towns, people recognize downturns more quickly and they often want to run back to the familiar. I'm hoping that we will have the chance for this to truly take hold. I want to close by letting you see the Strike Force's end of the year video. I hope that you can see the growth and evolution that took place with these teachers through last year. They are the foundation to our continuing efforts. Thank you for sharing a little bit about Hawkins with us.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm sorry, we were on mute for just a little bit over here. We really appreciate you sharing your description and your findings and how everything coincided a lot with what Dr. Judith Meese shared with us. And I have a couple of questions, and I'm just going to rotate through our speakers for a little bit. Judith, this one is for you. We had a question. Do you have any specific recommendations for universities?
Well, we actually at UNC Chapel Hill, we do have a bridge program for rural students in the state. We bring them onto campus early during the summer before they enter college, and it's very intensive preparation. They start classes because one of the issues that we find among rural youth is that because of the difficulty providing advanced courses in mathematics and science and English, that they often have to take remediation or remedial courses that don't count toward college credits. So the state has really taken on that challenge to provide bridging programs to go out into the communities, to reach out and to help with that transition into college. North Carolina is very fortunate to have a very good community college system. We have community college in almost every county of North Carolina, so many of our rural students will start at the community college level if they're not ready to leave their communities or cannot afford to come to Chapel Hill. And we have an agreement with the community colleges that if the students maintain and be average, that they can matriculate into our four-year institutions.
Okay, this one, Dr. Meese, relates to it, but it might help you clarify this person's question. What did you find to be the major barrier at the universities for rural students? You mentioned funding. Is that the major barrier?
We haven't yet studied the university side of this, of the rural youth transition, but in terms of the high school side, it is the lack of information about how to go get financial aid, find sources of financial aid, access to information about colleges, information about exams needed for college, assistance with writing those essays for college admissions. So I was watching some of the stories online that people are trying, the different schools are trying to make an effort here, but that's what we're learning from. We learned from our focus groups with the high school students, and I have a couple students that are actually doing research now on first-generation college students from rural areas, and that's what they're finding, is that these students really need more assistance with those college applications, or if they're looking for work opportunities in their communities, they need that information as well.
Okay, our next question is for Rhonda Townsend. Rhonda, you referred to a high need to prepare for the Common Core standards and that you have partnerships to help respond to this need. How are you doing that through the partnerships, or they're asking for some specifics?
Well, just here in our state, within the state, we have partnerships, of course, with ALCA, which is a Rural Learning Communities Association. We have partnerships with you all. We're looking for the research that's in place that will show us what best practice is. We work with different consortia groups in the state that are at the state level, as well as I work with a consortia group of people in my position. It's the Metro Learning Group, Metro Consortia Group, and we share information amongst ourselves. We are very networked. We have found that we have a really high need to network within our state. That when one of us finds something that's good, that's going to help kids, that it's worth sharing, and we do that. We're not trying to be the sage on the stage. We're not trying to have all the answers. We're not being ultra competitive, but we are working together across districts. That has probably been one of our most helpful tools that we've been able to utilize, is that we can work across districts together to find answers. We've also brought in some outside people to help us with some of our professional development that has helped us to unwrap those standards, that's helped us to understand what they mean. We've looked at, other people's work as well as our own and made comparisons. One of our great challenges with Common Core is, what is the level of rigor? Are we interpreting this the same way as the intent of the authors? What is intended by the author? One of the things that you can do is to go on to, in our instance here in Oklahoma, is to go onto the Park Assessment website and look at the resources that are being developed and put out there by other states. And so, when one of us finds something good, I know that I work with a group and we have access to some Google Docs, and we post stuff there across our districts whenever we find something that's good, and we just work together.
Thank you. That helps a lot. Debbie, this question is for you. Technology is often a challenge in rural schools, and it seems that your district has a lot. Can you talk a little bit about how you stepped up the game so far?
Yes, and it all relates back to many years ago, and with what Rhonda was just talking about, and that's the networking between districts. We had a collaborative SuperNet consortium that you mentioned when you were introducing me, and that was a group of 18 districts that got together and leveraged enough power that way to help build a technology backbone. A lot of times little districts can't get the attention of vendors and can't get the prices down, but when we got together with 18 of us, we had enough power then, and we were able to build a network that we centered at UT Health Center in Tyler, and with their bargaining power as well, that was helpful. And we spread out over a huge area all over East Texas, but we are still hooked together, and this was started a long time ago, and that's what launched us. And now everything's cheaper because we can get it in bulk.
And, this is Rhonda. We've done the same thing where we have brought some districts together, and we have leveraged our resources in the very same way with some of our online programs. And we found that if the companies would work with us and allow us to come together, that if we could buy multiple licenses for online product, and our student, a lot of times you have licenses that are sitting during the day that may or may not be used, and so we could get a certain number of licenses, and they didn't care as long as we were all working together and part of a partnership. They were making enough money, they didn't worry about it. And so we've done the very same thing that Debbie's district has done as well, as far as finding ways to leverage our resources.
Thank you. That's a great idea. I've heard about these consortiums that get more leveraging power. We have a question for Dr. Meese. You mentioned that you're in the process of examining educational attainment. What specific outcomes are you investigating?
Well, our students, our oldest group of students are now over 4 years out of high school. So we have some data on college completion that we are examining and what is predicting to college completion. We also have college enrollment data, when they first enroll and what type of college they first enroll in. We were not able to get information on majors, which was disappointing, but we do have information about when they first enrolled, their persistence in college. Did they change colleges? Did they go back to a community college or regional college? And of course, we would have eventually information about their dropout from college. But we just received this data a couple months ago, so we are just beginning the analysis of the data.
Thank you so much. We're just about out of time, and we've got so many more questions. If you've entered a question in the chat pod or the questions for the presenters, we will respond to you. But at this time, we need to go ahead and move to the conclusion. Jackie?
Thank you, everyone, for your participation in this webinar. We will be sending out a stakeholder feedback survey to all of you, and that will come to your email within a few days. And we really do appreciate that you complete that survey. It helps us to plan our future bridge events. This is the first bridge event that REL Southwest has conducted, and we're very delighted that all of you joined us, and we really look forward to your feedback so that we can make sure we continue to serve your needs. Also, I do want to conclude by just reminding you about our REL Southwest website. Please do visit our website for the resources that Vicki talked about earlier. The bridge event will be archived there, and as I've noticed in the chat pods, that we are going to send all of you, everyone who is registered for the webinar, we have your email address, so we will send you a URL to the archive, and there will be the recording of the webinar, there will be a transcript, and all of the PowerPoint presentations will be there. And a number of you also asked about the videos that Debi showed, so we'll make sure we'll have those videos for you to access. They were all on YouTube, and we will get those to you so that you can use them. Also, we do invite you to subscribe to our REL Southwest Spotlight e-bulletin. That way you can be informed for any future bridge events or activities that the REL Southwest is conducting. Thank you so much, and we're going to go ahead and close.
Thank you, everyone. This is Vicki again, and we appreciate very much your participation in this bridge event. And thank you again to our presenters.
Thank you.